CreativeTheoryPodcast.
Yes. I'm going to start with this.
Hey, Ilya.
Hello. I'm switching up the song. What's up, people? Welcome to Creative Theory Podcast, the show that brings you conversations with visual artists about how they got to where they got, what their day-to-day is like, what their struggles are, thoughts on the art world, a lot more. We're sunny day, Vancouver, BC, Canada, out of Save On Radio. Today in studio, I'm very lucky to have this amazing fella. I don't see him enough. Formerly known as David is Digital, if you're wondering. He's a multi-disciplinary artist and maker based out of Vancouver, BC. His practice of painting, sculpture, and collage aim to explore intricate systems of interconnectedness. Man, what a word.
It's a good one.
It's a good one. And he works with reclaimed wood, paint, other materials, and explores how they interact together. Damn, how was that? DavidUllock, thank you so much for joining the studio.
Thank you for having me, Ilya.
Let me figure out these levels here. I'm just as I figure out the mic. But for people who don't know David's work, I do recommend going on Instagram, Druvid, Druvid, and checking it out because, man, it's been so nice to see you over the last couple of years evolve and watch your work progress from, I think, primarily 2D flat work to now sculpture.
Yeah, it's been a fun exploration.
Yeah.
And certainly letting each inform the other. I think I've grown as a painter because I've taken up sculpture, and inversely, I think my painting informs my sculpture. So it's been a fun process.
And at this point, how would you describe your work? Maybe stylistically, and then, to someone who haven't seen it, how would you? Yeah.
For lack of a better term, I really enjoy exploring dimensionality, or being able to approach a piece and viewing it from multiple angles and taking different iterations out from each kind of perspective that you're viewing it from.
And that's actually a really good explanation.
Yeah.
I think it's so fun to see it from multiple angles, especially the painting that stood out to me or still in my head is the one you did for Snag.
Yeah.
I
wish that if anyone's listening and you won that, let me know. Every snag I've ever done, and it's many, I have never met a person who has won a piece from me. So it's out in the ether.
It's just because whoever won is not there, or
yeah,
you
they're just never there.
Yeah, that was really good. And I think what I liked about Down, especially I think because it had many 45-degree angles, and that's what allowed for the shadow play. And then there's different, like you're talking about the dimensions. Yeah.
And shadow is another huge part of my work because it depends on how you want to light it. That will create a whole new interaction.
And I mean, when you look at art venues, that's often, unfortunately, overlooked unless it's top end.
Yeah, I have yet to get in the top end gallery. One day it's going to be lit really well.
Is that the big plan?
One day it'll be lit, as the kids say.
That's right. Yeah. But is that the plan? Trying to get into some big galleries?
Yeah. One day. Yeah. I foresee it happening. My goal is to get in the festival circuit, or not the festival, the trade show circuit. Get a gallery to represent me and then just be able to create work. But everyone has that dream, right? Maybe.
I guess, yeah. I don't know. To me, this is the exciting part to listening to people's dreams.
Yeah, that's kind of it.
Yeah.
I want to find a gallery to represent me and just allow me to create and explore work. I'm doing it on my own, so I just want someone to be able to take it and run with it.
Yeah, someone who really believes in it, right? Who really gets it.
Yeah. So anyone in Vancouver, if you're listening, or abroad, it's probably not going to happen in Vancouver, so...
I see a little hint there, a little stab in Vancouver. It's true. You work with a lot of mixed media. I have often found your work very explorative. Is that the word? That's a good word, right?
It is.
What draws you to the multimedia? Because I've seen you go, I mean, especially, I would say a couple of years ago was a lot of aerosol, acrylic. And I think you'd combine all those. And I think I've even seen you work with gouache. And then now you're adding wood and sculpture into the mix and painting on top of that. Yeah,
precisely. And hopefully allowing each medium kind of to inform the others. So when I'm working with wood, innately it already contains a lot of information that can direct you in a specific path with the work you're creating. So like a lot of the reclaimed wood I use has beautiful grains. It's a lot of fur. And so those grain patterns will often dictate the shapes I'm cutting out of the wood and the way in which I assemble those shapes. And those could inform potentially a new brush stroke that I haven't thought about. Or inversely, because both the way I sculpt and the way I paint is rooted highly in automatism, like creating automatically and allowing the work to unfold organically. So often I don't approach a piece with an idea. I will rather let the piece become the idea and roll with it. I think that working in several mediums at once really allows for artistic expansion and growth in each medium, like I said, because the sculptures, if I was only working in painted wood and utilizing the shapes I'm creating and painting over them, I think that it would be missing a specific dimension of the way in which grain patterns can really inform movement with the eye, just like the way specific brushstrokes will orient your eye across a canvas. And
so then when you decide to paint something and not to paint another piece, how does that decision process work?
It's like a lot of experimentation. Sometimes it's a good idea. Sometimes it's like I have to scrap it. And many of the sculptures I'll create an iteration and then I'll disassemble it, or rather cut it up and then re-put it together just to kind of get new information out of it until I'm happy with it, until I tap out on it.
Do you feel like you're building out of chaos, or is it?
I feel like I'm exploring inwardness.
Okay.
Yeah. So rather than exploring the external world, which we can all see, I want to be kind of exploring what's going on in my head a bit more, and then trying to share that a little bit. And chaos is a good word for what's going on in there.
Because it makes me think how, I mean, you got pieces, you probably, and like you're saying, because you break it down and you put it back together, it feels like, how will this make sense together, right?
Yeah, and I think it's also, it's positive to be working on many pieces at one time, because, like, not literally in sync with each other, but having several works in progress on the go, because if you get stagnated on a single piece, you can move to another, and potentially you'll create some sort of eureka moment within that piece that can now inform that previous piece that you were stuck on.
And it's probably a good, that's like a good key to getting consistent work too, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think, usually when I'm working, I have so many unfinished pieces, it's hard to put it down on, but I usually have like between 5 and 10 pieces on the go at any given time.
But also I would say overall, your artwork is already cohesive. I mean, whether maybe that's a byproduct of your process or just who you are and how you create, but I found whether it's, through your color palettes or use of shapes, and especially over the last couple of years, to me, it's like, there's the very clear you has emerged.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I feel the same. Like I'm excited by the work I've been creating in the last couple of years. And I think it's directly because I'm exploring sculpture. It's something I had wanted to do for a long time and I never did. And I jumped into it in 2017, I guess, is when I started really exploring it. And a byproduct of that was like my painting practice really expanded as well. That's
so fascinating. I mean, people say that, but then like you're the example of it, like how, the suggestion of trying something else and then we'll feed back into the...
Totally. Yeah. And it's fun to explore many mediums because you're learning from each. I really enjoy ink on watercolor paper too, and like exploring watercolor. And for the last couple of years, I've been partaking in that Inktober thing, and that's a good practice for me because I work so much in color. It's nice to kind of just focus on tonal values and shape and like form, and it after each 30 days or 31 days of Inktober, I feel like the next colored painting I make is often one of my strongest paintings of the year.
I had a question written down about that specifically because you're one of not a large group of people who actually finished the 31 days and went strong. And then what I thought was fascinating about that is I think I've seen you describe your work as abstract, and I know you go where it's like representational mixed with abstract, where I feel like for Inktober you went for representational.
Yeah, I would say it's my work is kind of rooted in abstraction, but it's more abstracted than totally abstract. Like taking an idea and abstracting it, but still having representational elements, as opposed to just throwing pattern and color on something and saying it's abstract.
And then what I found from Inktober usually is that it's a really good excuse or a good motivation to practice.
Definitely.
And then, but that's why to me it felt, personally, when looking at your work, it felt like, you get to basically analyze a new topic that you normally wouldn't, and then you just get to learn.
And I think a byproduct of it that I really enjoy is seeing so many different artists with different styles interpret the same prompt word in their own unique way. It's kind of like a big, fun, collaborative project in the end. Because some people are doing, well, I suppose the gentleman who created Inktober, Jake Parker, is a concept artist. Yeah. And there's a lot of concept artists that do it. So that work kind of is very similar in within the fact that it's just a specific kind of like illustrative style.
Yeah, within the genre.
Within the genre, yeah. But then you see other people kind of taking the ideas and running with them. And it's cool to see varied interpretations of the word. Some are very literal, and for me, I have a lot of fun actually with wordplay as well. So taking the word, writing a rhyme, and then creating a piece to go with the rhyme.
That's one thing I noticed is that you name your piece as well.
Thank you.
I thought, so that's an.
I really enjoy creative writing. Yeah, it's just adding it to the mix. I think it also helps inform the way a piece can go.
Man, I got too many questions because you just mentioned so many things at once.
Sorry.
No, it's good. Let's get back. I want to talk to you about your inspiration, the way you're talking about writing. But before we jump off this Inktober topic, because it is like conscious practice, how often do you make a point of consciously practicing, observing for the skill sake of art? Because you have mentioned that when you create, you want to create from inward, which I think you're channeling your creativity, and sometimes it can feel removed from the technical aspect, meaning you sit down and you draw a tree in front of you and try to draw it like the tree that's in front of you, to learn.
Yeah. Yes, I understand.
How often do you actually like consciously practice if you need to learn what a tiger looks like?
Not enough, truthfully.
No?
Yeah, I'm consistently observing, but I suppose the taking that information of being observed and trying to represent it, I don't do it enough. I think I spent much of like my formative years in art making being very representational and learning to draw and learning to paint, and so stepping away from that has been a lot of fun in the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm. And because you mentioned earlier that your art happens as you create it, is planning kind of an enemy to you?
No, not at all. I think that it's good to have an idea, but I don't think it's healthy to have an idea and then if you're straying from it to feel bad about that or to feel like you have to impose these specific rules of an idea. Like one of my most enjoyable projects last year was creating a series of sculptures for physiotherapy clinic on the Drive.
Healing Tree.
Tall Tree.
Oh, Tall Tree.
Yeah, and it had to be West Coast theme, and the owner of the company had very specific ideas of what he wanted for the sculpture. Like he wanted some ferns in a tree and a sun and a wolf and a bird. And so I did all of those, but I did them with my own artistic license, right? So
did you like those constraints?
I did enjoy those constraints because it informs kind of, you have an end goal. It's not necessarily, I don't have to be following specific rules along the way, but I have to end up at a certain thing. And I hope the goal is achieved, and I didn't have to make any corrections to the work, so he enjoyed it.
That's great.
And it was good. And it was creating that work happened a couple months after I created a mural for them, so also it was taking the same color palette and bringing it to the interior space.
That mural was awesome, and I was looking through Instagram today, and once again people checking out, go to DrewVid, but I really like the photo before, I think you posted before you started the mural, where it's just you standing by a clean wall in really clean clothes.
Oh, I know, man. It was a good photo.
And then so the next one is the mural. That was good. It was such a that was a really cool moment captured, because you also look so happy. You're just ready for the wall.
I've been living off the Drive for the last almost 10 years, and it's really enjoyable to have a piece of art there. I feel like Commercial Drive should really get involved with more murals, because they have several old murals, but it's a place, it's one of the most vibrant communities.
There's lots of walls.
There's a lot of walls, and that's one of the things I was hearing, was a lot of business owners were coming by and saying, oh, this is so cool. And I think not everybody is aware of the incentive that the city offers with being able to cover up to $2,000 worth of materials as well.
I try to, you gotta spread the word, because it's so doable. Meaning, like, would that help? All you do is donate your time, but you're getting to make whatever you want on a giant canvas.
Exactly, and often if materials are covered, the business will offer a bit of pay, and I don't think anybody should do anything for free, personally. So
what if you really want to?
I don't feel like you should be asked to do a thing for free unless you are consciously willing to do it without monetary sums.
I feel like Commercial Drive should have some art galleries, because as you said, the vibrant crowd and culture, and it feels like the people who would appreciate art, right?
I feel very much so, and I think that there should be like a little, potentially VMF get involved and do a little Commercial Drive sub-series like they do in Strathcona.
Hint, hint.
Hint, hint, VMF, if any of you are listening.
Yeah, come on, get on it. I'm sure it's not that easy.
I tried to do a little hint when I posted the mural, but I don't know if they ever look at my stuff. If not,
well, you'll just have to start and organize something.
Yeah, totally.
Because that's one of the things where, if you have enough time and initiative, I think.
Yeah.
That's
bureaucratics aren't my strong point.
Oh, no, it's no fun.
It's
just got to take your time and make art, right?
I think so. Evolve the craft. But yeah, if building owners are listening and they live on the drive, get in touch with one of the many, many talented artists in the city and get some color on your walls.
Let's just start forwarding this podcast. Just email random people.
Yeah.
And they'll be confused, but
gosh, it's well worth it.
If they'll listen this far in, they'll get some good information.
I hope so.
Okay.
I hope so. And it brings so much positivity to the area. Like the mural that I did on the drive there is just surrounded by a bunch of drab colored buildings, and it pops. It just stands out. And then when we have dismal, like today's beautiful, but usually we have some dismally gray winter days.
Yeah, we do.
It's nice to add color to the surroundings and try to up the morale of the community.
Has that mural created any leads for you? Any more contacts through it?
Well, it led to that series of sculptures, which was really cool. That was never something discussed on the original table.
Awesome.
Tall Tree has a physiotherapy clinic in Victoria, in Cordova Bay, and this year they're opening one in James Bay as well. And so I'm gonna likely go do a mural there, and a series of sculptures for that one too. So I suppose this led to some other things.
Oh yeah.
And just adding another mural to the portfolio leads to other murals. That's the problem with getting into the mural game, is not having murals, right? So.
Or trying to, you mean?
Trying to
I get it.
Emerge as a muralist is like, it's hard to say that I'll paint a mural, but you only have like one or two.
Totally. Is that something you would want to do?
I'd want to
as part of your portfolio?
Yeah, totally. I really enjoy working large because it's taking the practice of painting, but then it's like exploring scale in a very different way.
That's what I love about you, because you're so multidisciplinary and you just tackle it all.
Oh, buddy, give me a challenge. I'll friggin' get over it. Yeah,
love it.
That's the most fun part about being an artist, is being delivered a new challenge or a new task and trying to use your creative license to come up with a solution.
Does it feel like problem solving?
It's totally. I love problem solving. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, totally.
Nice. I like it being put so, especially I find when you're making a mural and the wall is not really your standard square or something odd, or is a thing in between.
The texture is terrible to paint on.
Yeah, and you stand back and you hopefully make it fit into the area as well, right? There's lots to do.
And I just think that there's so many different ways to explore your own work as an artist if you're translating it to a large scale, because the way in which you make marks is now greatly different. Like trying to achieve those textural elements that are prevalent in my work, it's a unique challenge that you have to kind of consider differently when you're working at such a large scale.
Totally. And once again, that's something that'll feed back into your work, right?
Totally. Yeah, very much so. And you get to explore materials, like you get to explore paint in a way that you wouldn't be able to explore on like a 4x4 canvas or a small 18x36 or something like that.
So when you said you transitioned into sculpting, wood sculpture in 2017, how did that exactly happen? Because you need a wood shop, you need space and.
Yeah. So my day job is as a carpenter.
Yeah, let's get into that.
So by proxy, I've been working with wood for a long time, but just not in a sculpturally creative aspect. You can't say that carpentry isn't creative, and it's a lot of problem solving.
Totally.
My job is, I would put problem solver before carpenter.
Wow.
As my job description. But I've just amassed a collection of wood that I couldn't throw away, because a lot of what the company I work for does is character home restoration. Okay. So when we're doing the renovations, much of the wood that comes out is like all old growth fir, and it's beautiful.
Super
wood.
Nice, yeah.
It's very nice, yeah. It's very hard. You can't really reuse it in a building application, but it's beautiful wood in itself. And fun thing about like utilizing this reclaimed material is it's already lived a separate life. So being able to take that information and try to like reinvigorate this material with a new life, it's kind of like you're acting as a god.
That should be on a resume.
Yeah. No, you probably offend a few people.
Yeah.
So sorry, to further answer your question, I applied for a downtown east side small arts grant at the end of 2016, and my grant application was like, I'm a carpenter and I'm an artist. I wanted to work in 3D for a long time. I want to have a show with sculpture, and I didn't think I was going to get the grant. And then in January, I got the grant. Damn. So I was like, fuck, excuse my language, I have to now sculpt.
That's awesome.
So I created a body of work and had a show at Slice of Life Galleries. Shout out to Ben and Sheena. They're doing awesome things. There needs to be more creative and cultural hubs like that within the city. And I had a show there that it allowed me to explore both freestanding sculpture and then kind of what I'm calling sculptural paintings or assemblages that are existing on a 2D plane on the wall, but they're exploring dimensionalism.
But at the same time, you did also have the freestanding 3D pieces.
But I did,
too.
I kind of was exploring it at a smaller scale. And then last year I had a show at Cardam's Donuts, and that was full on freestanding sculpture, and that was a lot of fun. But that whole body of work I was just creating it for the sake of creating it, and then I found a place to display it. Yeah, I have a problem with creating.
Problem with creating?
Too much.
Well, that's a good problem.
I guess so.
Well, and yeah, I mean, my next question was how difficult is it to store the work?
It's pretty difficult, man. Like, I was, before we got on the podcast, I was just mentioning to you that I'm getting a new studio space that has more room. And I'm very gracious of my partner, Lori, to allow me to have sculptures in our house as well. But
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, baby. I can only have so many though. Yeah. It's like it's overrun. Our apartment is overrun with my artwork. So.
And but then, how do you feel with destroying your work? Have you done that?
I try not to.
No.
No, I have a storage locker as well that is full of artwork.
Yeah.
It costs a lot of money to store this stuff. Like, the value I would sell it for, I've already paid more in storage fees than I would get back. But it's fine.
And then, do you plan to? Do you plan to try to like showcase in other areas? Is that what it's for? What do you
kind of? I like not as a stab to Vancouver, but it's hard for me to penetrate the whatever art scene we have here, because I feel like quite an outsider. Mm-hmm. What I'm doing is I don't know how to bring it into gallery spaces, or I don't know if it's really like digestible for a lot of people. It's sitting in a unique space in the art theme, we'll say. But currently, Pat Christie, who runs Space Gallery, is doing really cool things by creating a venue for artists to display work. And him, along with this new little group called Vancouver Art Community, has been putting on a monthly series at Space for the last couple months called Made from Scraps. Yeah. And it's exploring upcycling materials. And the theme right now is wood. And I firmly believe in this practice, and it's
perfect for you.
Yeah, it's perfect for me. I feel like I'm kind of the epitome of this body of work, and so I've been displaying some work that has previously created, but also creating new sculptures to showcase there. From Pat gifted me a box of offcuts of 800-year-old cedar.
I saw that.
Yeah,
I want to ask you about that.
I'm very gracious towards this gift, and it's been fun.
800 years old.
Yeah, man. It's been really fun to explore creating forms with this, and it's cool because the offcuts were created from a series of disc sculptures that he has. And so displaying my sculptures next to his discs is also a story in itself. Yeah. That's
what I think you're talking earlier about how you use wood and how the grain informs how you work with it. I think that's whether you have any meaning or messages, and I'm sure you do within your work, just that on its own, that you're taking
it's a huge exploration of material.
Yeah, and it's so rich in story and ideas already.
It is.
That for you to, if you wanted to add something to it, like it's already so strong, you know what I mean? And you just keep building on top of it.
Yeah, like all of these sculptures with the cedar, I'm not putting paint on them. Like I'm just finishing them as raw wood to honor the material. Yeah.
And because there's so much variety in shades and grain, like it plays within itself so well. Like you said, it doesn't need anything. You got those on Instagram too, so come on, people.
And I'll throw some more photos up. Pat took some great photos with his shout out to Google Pixel. And I thought it was taken with Google. Like a Canon 5D or something, but it was just his phone. Yeah. And I'll upload some of these photos soon.
Can't wait. Yeah. Those turned out beautifully. And so because you mentioned getting into gallery spaces, actually, do you mind talking a little bit more about the space where you're displaying your work? Because I've been seeing, I guess I've been a little bit on the down on this, but I've been seeing the art shows you're describing, the Made from Scraps. Yeah, so they're at Space Gallery, which is on Clark Drive, 552 and 554 Clark Drive. And it's a collaborative work studios is what Space is, but it's also an area or a place for showcasing work and hosting shows and different events. And Pat has created a very inclusive community of there's so many different wonderful people and artists that are either part of Space as a studio, or they're taking part in these shows. And it's such a broad spectrum of work. Although it's not necessarily a place
that you're going to find buyers coming in. He has created a connection for a couple of us that have exhibited where our work is now in a high-end furniture store. And
Wow.
it's cool to have that connection be created out of something that I would already be doing, right? Like
Yeah.
I create the work and then trying to find a place to display it is now the new goal.
And I think that as a connection for you personally, I think it makes sense for where I can see your work, or in general, you know, I mean, you want to be connected with people who are looking to, you know, I don't know, like beautify your home or something like that.
Yeah, I think so. And so it's Switzer Creative, which is on West 3rd, is the furniture store. And what Rennie is doing, who is the owner, she is handpicking a lot of really wild handmade furniture from across the world and buying it.
Wow.
And so it's not necessarily like your traditional Scandinavian minimalist style popular furniture. It's like really cool one-off pieces, and it's exciting to have the work up there right now. It's so myself and Jake TikTok Johnston and Pablo from El Cartel all have our work up in her showroom now, and it'll be up there for a while.
That's really cool. Do you see her store and the space you're describing as the new alternative or the new way to display your work, especially in this city? As you're now describing, it's hard to get into shows.
Yeah, it's a bit of a unique opportunity, and I think that there's talks between Pat and Rennie right now for us to create a bit of a booth at IDS West with her this year too. So yeah, it's kind of maybe taking the work that's created and offering it a new venue or a new demographic that wouldn't otherwise see it. Because I think the people that will go and buy these expensive pieces of furniture from her showroom, they're not going to be coming to the openings at Space.
Yeah, and that's a difficulty, I guess, to reaching out to the people who are just not in the culture.
And I think that showcasing our work next to this high-end furniture is giving it a new context.
Totally.
It's like intrinsically maybe adding a little bit of value just because it's displayed next to a $5,000 to $10,000 chair.
Well, but I think it's the same as putting someone's piece into Vancouver Art Gallery. All of a sudden, or in a gallery of that size, all of a sudden, now to the rest of the world or public, it means something else. I don't think it needs to be so. I
don't think so. Yeah. I don't think it is.
It's just the way it is, though.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily validate it as being strong or not strong work, but once the right person says this is the flavor of the week, everybody fucking jumps on board.
Yeah, but it does, though, doesn't it? I mean, it does give that extra value.
Yeah, it does.
I would say even for artists, because, for example, imagine you got into a National Portrait Gallery in London, like that's a validation. That gives it value even among us artist friends, where in reality, maybe it shouldn't, but it does.
It does, because it puts you on the same pedestal that others who have been idolized for, centuries, if we're talking the portrait gallery, is giving you a platform to display with them, and by proxy, they now become your contemporaries, right?
Totally, yeah. So there's value to that, and then I guess the difficult part, and something I talked about in this podcast before, is how the general public is connected with the art scene in Vancouver, and I mean the lack of connectivity, I would say.
I'd say in general, the way that a lot of people digest artwork is through their phone. And it's very difficult. I often will get remarks from people being like, oh, I didn't think that this work was so large, or I thought this work was much larger. Yeah. And it's because there's no context. On a phone, a piece that is 10 by 17 inches could look the same as something that is 36 by 48 inches, right? So
just put the banana for scale every time you take a photo.
Yeah, exactly. So anybody that's listening, any opportunity you have to get out there and view artwork in the real world, do it. Please honor all the artists that are creating work, and don't just digest it through your phone.
Because often when people talk about culture, arts is always one of them. Because I think it's easy to feel like it's unimportant, but then on the other hand, when people travel and go to other places, galleries is one of the first things that people think of. So clearly there's value in it, whether you buy or not. Often it's great if just people come check it out. I think that kind of completes the artwork.
Totally. I don't think that you should ever be creating artwork with the intention of only creating to sell. Yeah. Create artwork because you have this innate desire to be creating, and hopefully sales will follow, or other connections that will lead to sales will follow.
And so recently, actually, you've done I would say a couple of art shows. What's your plan? How often do you prefer, or how do you see yourself ideally? How many art shows a year would you have?
I don't know. Like I said, it's hard to penetrate the gallery scene here.
But if you could, or
if I could, I'd do many a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
have enough work.
Okay. Yeah.
And I would create enough work. I have one coming up at Slice of Life in May.
Oh, nice.
But I think that it's great what they're doing. They're trying to create a venue for affordable artworks as well.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be a series of works that are all under $300.
Nice.
So I'm excited to display there again. And like I said, I really love what Ben and Sheena are doing with the cultural venue.
Totally. Yeah.
But my biggest goal this year, Ilya, is residencies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I've been
something we chatted about, yeah.
applying to so many
Good.
residencies.
How many are you at so far?
I think I'm at 9.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's good. They take time to apply too.
They take a lot of time, and it's like 3 to 4 months before you hear back. And I know many of the ones that I'm applying for overlap. So I get one, or I'll get word back, and then I'll have to choose. And many of them have like application fees of $30 to $40.
Yeah.
It costs money, but it's
What
good.
kind are you applying to generally? Is there something specific you're looking for?
Well, sculptural residencies a lot. There's a few places in the States that are kind of like sculptural forests or like sculpture parks that have residencies. So I'm excited to do that, because another thing that I see my work growing into is public sculpture. I would really like to start exploring, as with my paintings, exploring murals and the scale in that respect, getting into public sculpture and exploring my sculptural forms at a larger scale where you can kind of interact with them as a human, like human scale. And I think that being able to take the time to really create a piece of work, because often you have to leave whatever you're creating there at the sculpture park. It's opening a door to start working towards that goal. Yeah. But then on the other end of the spectrum, many residencies I'm applying for is just to like create a new series of paintings in a city that I want to go to.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Is that which places, countries, cities are you looking at?
I really want to go do one in Brooklyn. That would be fun. Sweden.
Yes.
Few in the States have various ones, like middle states like Kentucky and stuff, like just wild places.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, this one sculpture park, Bernheim Sculpture Park, is across from the Jim Beam distillery, and it's like
okay, that's a good connection, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so, but it's just like a wild place that I would never have otherwise thought of. And Alaska is one I've applied for as well.
There's something special about, I guess, just getting away and just focusing solely on creation.
Having no other expectations aside from creating work.
Yeah.
Obviously, like your bills at home still remain there, so there's that stress.
Because that's what I want to ask, is that you've mentioned, you do have you're a carpenter by trade, and how often do you work right now?
I'm like 3 to 5 days a week.
Okay.
We'll say I'm very gracious and fortunate that my employer understands my desire to be an artist, and that takes my priority. And a problem that I have, I think most creatives that have jobs have this, is burning the candle at both ends. So when I'm working, I'll work a full day, and then I often go to my studio and put in like 6 to 8 hours there. And then I have problems sleeping too. So it's like, by Wednesday or Thursday in a week, I'm usually not feeling too hot. And I've run myself down to the point of like having to really step back a few times in the last couple of years. So
when David got in here, the first thing I told him was that we don't see each other very often. It's partially because all of us are trying to do that.
Yeah, I think it's a good sign. It's like, it sucks. I would love to see more. Yeah, I would love to have we always talk about playing video games together, and I haven't played video games in so long.
We're probably going to do it when we're 60 or something. Just
virtual reality. We'll all just hang in the virtual realms.
Do you worry about your kind of all the other aspects of your life falling by the wayside? I guess that's a saying. If 8 plus 8 hours of work, sleep, 8 plus 8,
Yeah, it doesn't add up. So no, the result is often like getting very depressed.
Really? Is that where it goes to?
Yeah, it's usually where it goes to. But I'm excited to just I'm really stoked on the work I'm creating right now. And if I can find a venue to run with it, my carpentry isn't the be all end all to me. It's like the equivalent of my coffee shop job.
Okay.
Right? It's like
that's
I'm
a
an
good coffee shop job.
Yeah, it's a good one. It affords me skills that are useful in life, and actually it's like directly informing the way I create my sculptures. Like I'm grateful that I understand the use of tools very well, and I have fun when I'm using saws and other power tools. So it's an enjoyable process for me. But it's like often in the carpentry game, like especially the renovation game, you're dealing with some materials that aren't that great, and I'm pretty skinny. It's like I don't have the greatest muscle strength. I'm not weak, but I'm not like, I don't have an ideal body for operating a jackhammer when I have to be doing that.
Yeah.
And it's just like it wears on you.
Plus you gotta save your hands.
Yeah. I guess so.
Oh, those things are important.
Yeah, they are. They're pretty important.
In the beginning, you said you wanted to be working with galleries. So you do foresee yourself in the future working towards just being an artist, fine artist, sculptor?
Yeah, that's the end goal. And I think a way to go about it is exploring public sculpture as well, because they often have a larger budget that afford you to be focusing on the craft for X amount of months in a year. And I think once you've penetrated into the public art scene, then you're in the public art scene.
And I think also teaming up with the new developments that are happening all over Vancouver, right?
Man, there's so many in
they
Richmond
have
specifically.
too much money. I mean, from little that I've seen, what's happening like financially for those projects, it's like it's 6 figures, and
it's a healthy sum. Like that's not all artist fees, that's production budget.
Of course.
But
and depending on your materials, whether you're working with like gold or cement or anything, if you're gonna go big, it's gonna be
pricey,
chunk,
but it's also affording you the opportunity to be exploring materials that you would never otherwise be able to.
Yeah, and also something that can give you time to work on one piece for a month or months, and then really try to perfect the craft, or not perfect. That's the wrong word. We talked about explore.
The craft.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And like I said, I think once you're in with public art, then other communities will see that, oh, this guy has some accolades, and they would probably lead more towards hiring someone that has done one or two large pieces, as opposed to, like right now, I don't know how to break into that market. It's all conceptual. I don't have anything to show for it, right?
Oh, I see what you mean. Like on that scale.
On that scale, yeah. I can be like, these are my sculptures, and I want to blow the scale up 10 times. Yeah, I could, but I just mean like I have no experience with the implementation at that scale.
Yeah.
But
it'll be very exciting to see something on that scale from you.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I have a question here. I feel like we're kind of all over. I try to make a plan. So apart from this time, are there any other tough aspects to deal with right now with your kind of life, work, art breakdown? Is there anything you struggle with?
Just ensuring that I'm getting enough money to survive in the city. I don't want to be working 40 hours a week myself. And if I'm pulling a full 40-hour week with work, I get pretty burnt out. So it's trying to balance or find that balance, because as you know, it costs money to make art. Like, especially if you have studio space and the materials cost, and for me, buying tools and maintaining my tools, and just ensuring that I have enough money to live, and then I'm saving money to try to do a residency. Like, although some are funded,
hopefully they are.
Yeah, not all are, and I'm not letting just applying for a funded residency be the dictator as to where I'm applying. I want to find something that I'm excited by and apply for it. But if I'm taking 1 to 2 months off to go work there, even if it's like a $2,000 to $5,000 stipend, I still have bills back at home where pretty much that whole $2,000 to $5,000 is going to go to that. So I have to have money to live over there, right?
Do you think about leaving Vancouver for that reason?
I don't know. No? Yeah, ish. I like the city. I've been here a long time. Yeah. I don't know where I would go. Maybe back to Vancouver Island, but I want to go abroad too.
That's what I was going to say. You could go.
Yeah.
There's some exciting places to explore.
Laurie and I just got kittens a little while ago, so now we have this whole element to
it's
our
okay.
life.
You can fly with kittens.
Yeah, we could fly with the kittens. You're right.
Just smuggle them in your jacket.
Yeah, exactly. This guy's stuck. Poor guy.
Oh no.
I don't know. It's something that Laurie and I have talked about for a long time, is like going and living in Amsterdam for a year. Amsterdam is a great city. I love it. Everyone is so happy there. They have a great arts community. Everyone bikes everywhere. There's like bicycle highways, bicycle parkades. It's phenomenal.
The dream.
Yeah.
Just biking around the city. Yeah.
Totally.
When you travel like that, what kind of perspective does it give you on the different kind of art groups and scenes, and I don't know how else to call it.
It just like, if you're going to galleries there, work that is really pushing boundaries is something that I see there, and a lot of work in Vancouver is very safe. It's very safe work that is digestible, and going to other places, you get to see some pretty like out there works that are, unless you're going to national galleries, then you're seeing masters, and that's also a nice thing. The art gallery, like the Vancouver Art Gallery is good here, but I think the coolest place that we have for inspiration in Vancouver is the Museum of Anthropology out at UBC.
Oh yeah.
Not enough people really kind of like add that to their list of weekend activities, but gosh, it's like it's the coolest place to go. The building is an Arthur Erickson building. It's a beautiful building, but just seeing that the history of all the West Coast work out there is it's sad that it has to be in a museum, but it's nice that we can see it,
and we can still have it too, or like people can still see something like that. And
it's nice to give context to it all as well.
What do you say by works being too safe here? And in your mind, what is not like what is it that's being pushed farther? Is it something you can put into words?
Probably not.
No,
I'm probably just like eating my own words now. I feel like Vancouver is very fixated on illustrative qualities, like illustration, and not saying it's a bad thing. It's just like a thing that I notice that is very popular. And I feel like there's not enough galleries that are really exploring abstraction, or that's probably the correct word, is abstraction. And it's so loose, like it contains so many different things, but there's also not many galleries here that really push sculpture. Like
sculpture is definitely a rare one. To me, it's so interesting that you think it's not pushed enough, because whether it's my kind of view or relationship of Emily Carr and walking down Granville Street, I feel like I haven't been to Granville, but it's funny because to me, I almost feel like there's a lot less representational gallery spaces. I mean, I don't know why my perception is so, but
it could be, yeah. And like, I want to be seeing. Like, I hate the term outsider art, but I love it. Like, I love that
lowbrow.
style.
What else do you want to call it? Yeah,
both of those kind of like give a connotation that aren't accurate, because, like, I want to go to the Guggenheim before April in New York and see that Hilma af Klint show, and she is, she was exploring etherealism, and she was exploring some voices that she was hearing, and I want to see more of this. Like, I want to see this crazy stuff that speaks to you. I don't know. Like I said, I'm eating my own words. I actually don't know enough about Vancouver's art scene to really comment on it.
Something we also talked about, because at the same time we're criticizing it, on the other hand, it's hard to be connected with all of it, and it's I'm sure they've got things to work out and figure out how to be more connected in that way.
Yeah,
because even just the groups of artists, we're all kind of split, especially among genres or ages. I don't really hang out with artists who are, I don't know, more successful, older, or different spaces. I mean, unless you go for the East Culture Crawl and you're like, wow, there's hundreds of you guys out here.
Yeah, and you're all making the identical work.
But nobody knows each other. And I don't know if that plays into the whole idea that you got to work to support your art. So all you do is what you and I do, which is like you go to work, you make some art, and then you try to take care of your life.
Yeah.
So none of us are, and it's actually that can make it difficult to get out and support someone else's work, because you also want to try to make something, or
Totally. Last week when I was working in my boss's wood shop, right now I'm processing a bunch of cherry slabs to turn into big tables, and the building that his workshop is in, his neighbor is an artist, and just like he was walking by, and I helped him carry a thing out and kind of got into talking, and his name is David Spriggs, and he is potentially one of the greatest artists I've seen come out of Vancouver. Like he's exhibiting in museums all across the world, and he's like, every year he's doing these huge international exhibits, and his work is very, very, very beautiful. It's exploring light and three-dimensionality through paint, the application of painting on vellum, many layers of vellum, and projecting light from above.
That's cool.
It's phenomenal work, and I had never heard of this guy. And it's just like happen chance I met him, and he makes his living exhibiting across the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what is the problem then? Why? I know it's we're not gonna find an ultimate answer here, but what do you think? So how is it?
I think that
possible?
more galleries need to take chances on potentially artists without a name, without any clout.
But also, how do we not know about this guy? You know what I mean? If he's
maybe
so
if you're an
successful.
alumni from Emily Carr, you do.
You probably,
I think he's a
yeah.
success story from Emily Carr.
Yeah, I just wonder, like, what can I or we or you, what can we do to try to be more aware? I don't know. It sounds so naive, I guess, to say, but
Yeah, I don't know. I truthfully don't know. I feel like the art events based around like our contemporaries are doing are all based around a party. Like they're more based around like a show opening where people are drinking.
is that our fault?
I don't know. It's just a proxy of the age, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And, digesting artworks under inebriation is fun, but it's like you're not fully focused on the artwork. And I think that we need to potentially have more venues or avenues to have artist talks and panel discussions around work. And I know that I'm saying this and like not doing anything to make it happen, so it's hard. Also, I'm being a complete hypocrite, right?
But do you see how difficult it is, especially for the kind of work you're talking about, where it's kind of being pushed a little crazy out there? The work that goes that way, its application, its not usability, but it's like digestibility becomes less and less for the general public. And
well, that's just it. Yeah.
Which, okay, we're having a knock on the door. Hello.
Police is knocking on our door.
Actually, police is knocking on our door. Just that. Let's find out what's happening. This is exciting. Please do. Hello. Yeah.
I need to talk to one of you not broadcasting.
Okay, I'll take a little break. I'll play some music and we'll get back here. All right.
Dona Maria levanta cedo de segunda a segunda. Quem pensa pequeno recebe menor, água bate na bunda. Madruga, que Deus ajuda. O mundo é de quem faz mais, e quem faz mais sempre vence a luta pra trás. Quem quiser já pede a disputa. Vai lá, pega o seu jeans sem pedir desculpa. Se ligue no corre sem trambique. Conquiste, que eu já tô nesse pique. Bora que o bonde sai às 11 e eu chego na hora. Vai, vem, o brilho do suor, meu bem. Quem trampa noite e dia só quer saber das de 100. Sem preguiça, com malícia, recompensa garantida. Nego se vira nos 30 e trinca no long e amém. Podemos ser a elite, misturando a acidez, seguindo a potência do beat. Meu corpo sem limite, pode ser que isso te irrite. Dispensa o seu palpite, vou agindo, admire. Aperta o repeat. Podemos ser a elite, misturando a acidez, seguindo a potência do beat. Meu corpo sem limite, pode ser que isso te irrite. Dispensa o seu palpite, vou agindo, admire. Vou agindo, admire.
Yeah, we're back. So turns out, allegedly,
someone pulled a gun across the street,
and we could have been witnesses, but we weren't. So that's a first one for this show.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, you never know when police is gonna start knocking at the door, but just don't pull guns on people.
No, gosh. Guns are bad, okay?
Yeah, I gotta try to get back into it. So I think we're talking about. Oh yeah, so we're talking about how the difficulty of pushing art farther and farther is that it becomes harder to try to make a living with it unless you're on that high tier of top galleries where your job is like to push the limits of art.
Yeah, and usually if you get to push the limits of art, you have someone that's kind of believing in you or backing you to do it. But I think that it's easy to become victim to making work that is digestible.
Mm-hmm.
And like there's something to be said about making money off of it. That's very positive. But I think if it's limiting or stifling what you're doing to push the boundaries of your potential,
Mm-hmm.
then being too comfortable is not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah, this is where you sound like a true artist.
That's
like a spoken like a true artist.
Yeah, I guess so, but also probably like a fucking hypocrite.
Oh, because you push for this essence, like in a broad term of art and exploration. This sounds like, yeah, that is it.
Yeah, hopefully, kind of it is. Like, some people might find my work very safe though, so it's.
But so then, what if that's the case, and if you don't want to be safe, and it turns out that you just for next 20 years, let's say you have to keep having that main job to support your art, is that okay? Is that worth it?
Until the day I die, I'll make art.
Yeah.
So.
And you're not gonna, what's the word? You're not gonna jeopardize your artwork for the sake of selling it. Maybe that's the wrong word.
No, I get what you're saying. Like, I feel like the mural that I did for Tall Tree was very safe. Like, I had so there's two practices potentially. Like, that is more of the selling my work as a commodity, and I think that every artist has to do that. But I feel like you shouldn't focus solely on creating work as a commodity. But for that mural, I had to create a scene of a West Coast and very safe and bright and colorful, but I got to explore it with my own forms and my own artistic interpretations. So that was like a push and a pull.
Yeah.
But I got a paycheck, so that was great.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hate on people that are making safe work, because you guys are doing something right.
Well, I'll be honest, that's something I think about often, because if you push it too far, and I guess you have to think about why and who you make it for.
Mm-hmm.
I have had an instructor in school telling me that when I make a piece, he thought to try to approach a piece and think like, what if I was making this piece for David here? What would it look like? If whether it's like you commissioned me or just I wanted to get you a gift and it was a piece of work from me, what would it look like? And I think the reason why he was suggesting that as an exercise, because it makes you think of different aesthetics, or even consider what makes a piece appealing to someone else. And I think that's a kind of on that same type of methodology you're talking about of making artwork, where it's for someone, for a client. And I do go back and forth between this, because, for example, quite often, for whatever reason, I want to make I feel like making dark work visually, and then you create that and you realize, two people want to see it and the rest just want to turn it off and move on.
But I think in making that work, you'll learn something from it. Like, making work that you want to create over making work that you think will sell or that other people want to see, you're exploring themes that you need to be exploring. Otherwise, you wouldn't want to make that work, right? And so if you want to make dark work, gosh, make dark work.
The angsty me wants to make some dark work, but
if you're an artist, you're angsty.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
But just because I feel like I these days I don't even think as much about selling, or I feel like, hopefully that means I'm growing up or something. But it's.
You're a true artist, Ilya.
I don't know. No, see, that's. I'll become less concerned, and I think especially because quite often that would be, I don't know, whether it's like sketches or digital work, is just, it's like you said, the main goal is just to create work, and that's not really there. But for some reason, quite often I would care that it's a piece that can be appreciated. I don't know. I realize I don't have a strong opinion set on this. It's just somewhere caught in between of, sometimes I just want to make work because it's like you said, just art, and I want to make it. And sometimes I want to create something appealing, and I would say that's probably the illustration side of me, illustrator side of me.
But there's no reason that both can't kind of like work in tandem with each other. I think if you're creating this dark work that you want to create, it probably will inform the next illustrative piece that you create. Like maybe you'll learn something about your values, or like your tonal values, not necessarily like your personal values.
Yeah.
Or maybe your personal values too. But also you very well may like realize that after creating these dark works, like shit, it didn't make you feel very good, and there's no reason to keep making it.
Yeah,
but you would never know unless you make it.
True. And that's where I guess it just comes down to why you make it in the first place, and then I think that should probably answer everything else. And
I think no matter what, you should make it because you want to make it. Even if it's for a client, you're making art because you're an artist. Thusly, like you enjoy the practice of creating, and it's all problem solving in some respect. If it's a client, is 100% you're creating work as a solution to whatever problem they're putting in front of you. And sorry, I guess maybe I'm not talking to the
just
mic.
move it around. Yeah.
In the realm of commissions, that's a whole different ball game altogether, because someone's hiring you to create a painting, and unless they give you the exact thing that they want, they're like, I want you to make a painting in your style, but then it's a total gamble on it. Because,
but how I want it.
But how I want it, but I don't have any information to give you on that respect. It's commissions are a fun game.
Yeah.
Funny game, that maybe is the correct word.
So you may have answered it, but do you know why you make art?
Oh shit, dude! It's just something I've always done. Like it's in my blood. I have to.
Is that a good enough answer for yourself to satisfy yourself?
No, I don't know. I make it because why do I make art? That's a great question. I feel like I have a story to share, and I don't know what that story is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think making artwork allows me to explore many different themes, and it allows me to kind of like convey what's going on within me that otherwise I could not put into words. I think words limit what you're trying to display or what you're trying to convey. It's like you have 26 letters and those make up all your words, but with a painting or a sculpture, it's like there's no limits to the way in which you could create a thing, and especially within the realms of abstraction, it's so open for interpretation. Like I'll create a piece, and then whatever intrinsic meaning I impose upon it often is overlooked by someone who's looking at it, and they're going to create a whole new story. And for me, that's also incredibly interesting to hear the way that someone wants to digest my work.
Yeah, that's always really interesting. And do you think about, have you ever thought about considering trying animation or video?
Like I went to film school. That's one of the things I did.
There you go.
Yeah, and from that I learned that I don't want to be on a computer all day. I do animate, and I do kind of explore. I really like exploring reinterpreting found footage and animating on top of it, and then taking a lot of the found footage film and sounds from it. And I write music too. I don't share it, but
dude, you do everything.
Yeah. Like this year I do foresee kind of sharing finally some of my music, but I want to share it as like a long video. Okay.
Because I feel like video does take it, it opens up another dimension to talk about, or to say something more. Sometimes I feel like a single painting can encapsulate a lot, and at the same time it's also very limiting compared to video, where you have audio and you've got moving pictures, you got lots more to say,
and installations too. Like when we met each other, it was at TEDx in 2015. That's right. And I got to do that fun
2015
interactive installation. Shout out to Drew for always believing in me in some respect or another, and giving me sweet opportunities.
We're gonna get him in here soon.
Yeah, he's just the greatest homie.
He's too big.
He's getting to places that he deserves to be. That's right. Cool.
But we'll get him here
anyways. He's given me a few opportunities in the past that have like, he's let me just create work for the sake of it, and he knows I'm pretty out there with my ideas. So for that TEDx installation, I basically just had to create something that was interactive. So I created a large a sculpture with a matrix of strings and fabric at the back that I projected several of my animations through, but also hooked up an Xbox Kinect. And so it took the infrared imaging from the person that was standing in front of it, and it would project also their silhouette through the string matrix and onto the fabric. And I don't know what the outcome of it was. Like the title of that one was Holofractographic Dreamscape, and
It's good.
yeah, it was exploring lucid dreaming, because also the projection of the infrared imaging of the person who was standing in front of the camera was slightly abstracted, and it was delayed by about 2 seconds. So it would often take a moment for the person who was viewing it to register that they, in fact, were part of the themes. Just like in a lucid dream, it takes if you're awaking in a dream, it takes a moment to really recognize you're in a dream. So that was that theme.
Have you stepped away from digital recently?
I do it so much, dude. Like,
you do?
Yeah,
You just
every
don't
night
show
I'm
it?
working on music. And
okay.
Yeah, it's purely cathartic. Like for me, it's just making for the sake of making. And my software of choice, well, for music is Ableton, but for animating is After Effects. Just because like I can create collages or illustrations within Photoshop or Illustrator, and then just take that information and directly or direct link, as Adobe does, into After Effects.
That's so amazing. You're so prolific.
I guess so. Yeah, I have too many ideas and not enough time to get them all out.
And not enough. That's why you don't sleep, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. But also, it's like maybe having so many ideas and exploring so many mediums is also constraining me from finding the audience, the one audience for my work.
I think that's probably the biggest question out there is, do you, what do you want? You pick one medium and get really good at it, or you
I don't know. And I struggle with like sharing my animations and stuff. Like Instagram is basically the way to share a portfolio now. And I do so many different styles of work that it's hard to like, maybe I shouldn't be sharing my animation and my music through Instagram. If you search back on my Instagram, you'll find a bunch of animations, and all the sounds on them are like little snippets of songs I've written.
Back when you were David is Digital?
No, it's always been Druvid on Instagram. David is Digital is Facebook. And that's because like right from the get-go in 2006, I didn't want to have my name on there.
Okay. That's maybe where the confusion for me was.
It's still David is Digital on
I think because I think I told you where I remember for a while following this Druvid, and I'm like, man, this work is really cool and so interesting. And then I realized it was you, and then it just
fun.
Then it all made sense in my
yeah. Druvid is kind of like the David the Druid moniker, but DRU is also my initials.
There you go. And
in the beginning, I was like, maybe it'll be David Russell Ullock Video, thusly Druvid, or
there you go.
Many meanings.
I feel like I'm trying to, and I want to, and I think I will slowly give up on only because for a while I think all I shared was the fine art side of stuff I did.
I'm really excited to see these new little concept illustrations.
Thanks,
you're sharing.
So that's that's more along lines of what I do for work, and I think it's.
Do you animate?
I used to be a 3D animator, and then so now I do just design. So concept art, create characters, and everything else. And I enjoy that a lot, and I think the topic we're just discussing, wanting to do different types of art and being involved in it, and I don't know, I just maybe I'm gonna, or I'm stuck caring about looking like one persona, because it definitely helps as far as marketing goes, but if I'm okay with not trying to just only sell my work or that being the identity I want to present, then I don't really care if I show other stuff, because that's what I do. It's me, and
that's exactly
what if you don't like it, I'm sorry.
God damn it, that's you, Ilya.
So that's where I'm going, and I'm not going to give advice, but I really do want to see your music and everything else you're making, because I'm very curious.
Thank you. Yeah, my biggest qualm, I suppose, is trying to decide if I want to release it under this moniker I have for my art, or if I want to like create a whole new entity and potentially like not have it be hindered by the people that hate on Druvid or like Druvid or whatever.
That really makes sense, and I think especially because there'll probably be a pretty vast separation because you're messing with multiple software, and you're adding the musical element. I just want to see it, however you will find a way to release it. Please do, and I'll make sure to share it here too.
And then the other thing is like maybe I just want to put it out there and not have any sort of connection to the Druvid. Like let it be its own entity. Yeah. And if you know. Otherwise, it's just like it's another.
You're gonna be the coolest underground artist to ever be, to ever hit the streets.
Yeah. That never makes it. Shit.
But maybe never making is part of the cool aspect of it.
I guess so.
Then you're too popular, man.
At again, Pat at Space, he will afford me any opportunity to display the work, and I've kind of told him like I would love to do kind of maybe a release of whatever album I put out as a video and play it live behind Scrim. I don't foresee like wanting to be at the forefront of it. I want to let the music and the animation kind of be the moniker. And I think it would be a lot of fun to play like that. Some of the coolest shows I've seen have been artists playing behind Scrim like that.
Yeah.
This tour that Flying Lotus has done for the last 2 years, he plays with 3 layers of Scrim, and he's between the second and the third. And so it's like, it really adds an element of 3-dimensionality to it.
I love that. I love that kind of art, but it appears to be so complex because of the amount of knowledge you need to have, or you're better be partnering up with the right people.
Yeah, or just like faking it.
Or that, yeah.
Yeah, but it's beneficial to have someone who kind of knows the ins and outs of those softwares to push it. But
so I guess we chatted about Vancouver art scene. Maybe let me ask you what you like and what you dislike about it.
I love how inclusive it is.
Okay.
I've met so many great people through just through being part of like Snag or like the Mural Fest or the show that I had at Slice. Just meeting really great people.
Yep.
And I actually think I will credit that mostly to Snag. It's different. It's different than what it used to be. When it was at the Cobalt though, and like a weekly event, it was so fun.
Yeah.
It was crazy to just be down there around so many creative people that were on the come up. Like many of these people who started out at Snag, they're making full livings as artists now, and it's cool to see. I think Vancouver art community, this new moniker, it has taken over Snag now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
what is the goal behind that group? Or
I think their goal is just like the name says.
Okay.
Vancouver art community.
Yeah. Gotcha.
They're just creating an avenue to display and promote artists from the city, but I guess they've taken over Snag, and they'll be running that now, and it's going to be a monthly event at the American.
I'm just glad that it's going to keep going.
Yeah, so am I, and they're taking it at like, holy cow, the roster that Snag has of artists, like shit, they don't have to do any work.
There's tons of good people here.
Yeah,
and gotta get them out there.
It's just a fun place to display work. But like I said, I wish that I knew who owned all the pieces I've ever created at Snag. Like, never met any of them.
Let's go investigate. Maybe there's a video somewhere.
Yeah,
hunt
who
them down.
knows?
Don't you? Yeah, I found that actually quite odd, and maybe it is because just how I see it. Because I've had there's some pieces where someone got them and never contacted me, but I feel like if I was in that situation, I would like to figure out who the
artist was.
Yeah, or say hi to the artist.
Or like a thank you, like
or something like that.
They just won this piece of art for between $5 and $20, and it's like you're not going to buy.
Maybe they think it costs $5 and $20, while in reality,
hopefully not.
That's a different.
They deserve a smack if that's the case.
You can go steal it back.
Spend money on local art, guys.
Yeah, there you go.
It's worth it,
dude. Okay, so you gotta tell me about what happened at Dayton Cup, because I read that Instagram post way back, and we haven't had the conversation yet. So
that was a thing.
I just wanted you to tell a good story.
That was I got to meet a cool artist there whose name is Casey Hall. So that was a very positive thing that I took out of the Dayton Cup, and it was nice for Kirsten Larson to give me the opportunity to create that work. She is what is her moniker again? You know Kirsten, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I can look it up while you're talking about it. Tell people what the event is about.
Yeah, so the Dayton Cup is this like bougie horse race at the Hastings racetrack where everybody dresses up in very expensive clothes and smokes cigars and drinks expensive booze and bets money on horse races.
Yeah.
And so there was an element of art that was brought on this year, and I created 2 very large paintings, 2 4x8 paintings side by side. So they were an 8 foot by 8 foot canvas basically, and a large sculpture that I finished live. And it was just not the demographic that appreciated my work. It was it was like, I think the nicest thing that someone said to me was like, "What are you even doing? Like, what is this?" And one of the things that stuck out to me was this woman came up to me in her Dayton Cup dress and was like, "You should just paint it all pink. It doesn't look good right now." And I was like,
"Wow,
maybe you're right. Maybe I should just paint it all
I didn't know those
pink."
humans existed, and to me, maybe so. When we were talking about, why don't people go to art shows or something like that? Well, maybe that is why.
Yeah. I think that maybe the people who organized the Dayton Cup were like, we want to appear as cultured, so let's bring some artists on. But
Nobody got it.
nobody got it.
You're just
no.
too deep for them.
Or I don't know, shit. Like maybe I should have painted some trees or something.
Flowers and half-naked women. That's all you
Yeah,
got to do.
exactly.
It's gonna be. I'm sure that's a way to success.
Yeah, and so shout outs to Kirsten for.
I couldn't find it. You can look it up if you want, but yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I remember I was supposed to. Yeah, they're talking about doing a mural for that, but that never lined up. Yeah.
Vancouver Art Attack. is
There you
her
go. That's right.
Company. Yeah.
Okay.
She's doing great things. Like she's really offering opportunities to artists as well. And I'm very appreciative of that opportunity, but it just wasn't the right venue for my work. I left
Venue or
early.
people.
or
Venue or people.
Both. Like,
Yeah.
I was getting pretty offended by the end, and I think I packed all my shit up and left before it was over.
And it's so strange because that is like that crowd is the people with money, like you said, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they want to digest work that they're told is cool,
Okay. Yeah.
or that is, like you said, trees and half-naked women.
Are we just gonna start getting depressed here right now?
Yeah, buddy, I already am. Whatever. Like I got to meet Casey. He's a really dope guy, so that was a very positive thing to come out of it. And I ended up with all the work I created. So
Sweet. Those
that's-
large pieces look really cool.
Thank you.
The-
Yeah, I cut one of them up into 2 4x4 canvases and painted over top of them with hints of the painting underneath, kind of like, well, basically the piece was created to be a diptych at 8 by 8 feet.
Yeah, they're large.
And they were to be displayed vertically, and no one's going to have an 8-foot vertical space in a home or even like a business. So I cut it, and now it's 4x4, so it doesn't make sense anymore. So I had to like refinish them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm stoked on the 2 pieces that came out of it. One was called Light Dance and one was called Night Dance, and they were really fun. And
Yeah.
so I still have one 4x8 that I'm going to keep as a 4x8, but I'm going to flip it so it's horizontal, and I need to paint over it as well. So it's nice that I ended up with the works, and one of those 4x4 paintings is going to go into the furniture company.
Oh,
store.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. Look at that.
So things are
things
on
come-
the up and up. Yeah.
Good things come out when someone trashes your work verbally. And you
Yeah,
kind of
exactly. Or rather, good things come out when you make work that you want to make, and
Good
then
point.
you'll find.
You didn't paint
place
it pink
it.
for that lady, so I'm
I
glad. I'm
didn't paint it pink. No, I didn't.
glad.
Gosh,
I'm glad.
so am I.
Yeah.
Although maybe it was such an out there idea that it was the right idea.
It would have worked.
Maybe she was just so on. Her finger was so on the point that I put it past her, and I shouldn't.
It would have been so conventional that it would be opposite of conventional.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Although then again, what makes pink conventional? Anyways, we're not gonna go down that road.
No.
Let's get back on track. I want to know. You've recently, I guess, can we call it art activism? I think you're trying. I don't know if you're how much work you sold to try to support.
None. If anybody wants
No?
them, they're still
Okay.
up for the Una Stoughton.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that? I have a couple of questions for you.
I just feel like there's a lot of things happening within this country that are pretty dirty. Like,
Mhm.
for lack of a better term, there's still a lot of colonialism that's going on. And I have offered a little bit of money. I don't have much money, but I have a lot of art.
Mhm.
So if people want to like buy some of these pieces, I put them up for auction, but not a single bid. So like, if you just want to buy one of these little paintings for $50 or something from me, donate the money to the Una Stoughton camp and show me that you've done it, and I'll send you a piece. I'll send you 2 pieces. I'll send you some paintings and a print. Just if you can afford to buy some art, like donate it to a place that needs it, and that's how I can offer support.
It's actually really surprising to me that you didn't, because I mean, not only it's as you're saying, it's a huge issue, but maybe so then once again, it's kind of connecting to the right people. And I wonder if there's organizations you can reach out to or something like that to team up, and because clearly there's a lot of passionate people about.
I hope
the
so.
issue,
I imagine
about the
so.
pipeline.
It's like
Is this something that you've done before? Because this is
not
the
really,
kind-
and I didn't come up with the idea. I've seen some other artists doing similar things, and I just feel like as an artist, innately we're creating work for ourselves. So right off the bat, it's very selfish. And if I can use that selfishness to maybe like help something that I think would be positive, like
Yeah,
we should
exactly.
do that.
I've been thinking a lot about this recently as well. Just it's exactly like you said. The pursuit is selfish in kind of by its nature.
Yeah,
and it has
it's
to
not
be.
necessarily a negative connotation.
No,
It's just the
no.
word selfish means it's for the self. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
Is this something you would like to do? Have you given more thought to whether it's like organizations or
I don't know how
people
to.
you want to support?
Yeah, I suppose. Like, I just don't know the way in which to penetrate that. Like, offer my artwork to them and then they can auction it off, or using whatever little audience that I have. But like I said, not a single bite, so I don't know. I don't feel like my audience is the right audience for that.
Yeah, just the whole idea of buying art, right? That's overall.
It's $50 is affordable though for an original
Yeah,
painting.
totally.
It's nothing.
I don't know what question to ask. What's wrong with humans? No, I don't know.
A lot.
That's not.
Let's not get into that.
But it's not.
what this
And
podcast
that's
is
not
about.
even. It's not even the right question. I'm just I'm goofing around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea. I hope you. Yeah, I can see just that working well, because I think as artists, you can offer a lot of value to the community.
I think
through
so,
your work and through the craft, right?
I think as most artists that are creating work are going to have a backlog of work that's not really doing much. So if I can share some of that, that'd be sweet.
I saw you also made a album artwork.
Oh yeah, shout out to Caravello. He makes really, really beautiful sounds. Really, really beautiful instrumental hip hop and sample based hip hop.
Awesome.
Maybe some of the coolest music coming out of the city, and not enough
Caravello? How do you
people
spell
know it. Karavelo, and you can find all this music on Spotify or whatever streaming service you use.
Okay, I gotta look it up.
But yeah, the word album art is funny now, because the only way that you would digest this artwork is through your phone screen. It's not printed as a physical thing anymore.
You can make your own.
Yeah, you can make your own, but I definitely encourage anybody that likes some lo-fi beat music to go check out Caravello on Spotify.
To me, it was interesting because there's that kind of nice mix of commercial and personal work, because I imagine you got to do what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I exactly got to do what I wanted to do, and I gave him a few concepts before I painted the final thing, and then I'm giving him the painting. Like, he wanted to buy an album, but I made a painting for him. So
sweet. And then how often do you pick up these kind of projects?
that one was happened organically. It just kind of like, he has liked my work for a while, and he asked if I was interested in making an album art for him, because he just released that album at the end of December, or maybe it was the beginning of this year. And I said yeah, like, because I like the music. I've done album art for other people whose music I didn't like, and then I didn't feel good about it after. And
Really?
yeah, so
I get it. That's probably just shows how personal your artwork is to you.
I feel
Did you feel like you're misrepresenting?
Yeah. it
Yeah?
did, yeah. And I would rather help promote people's work who I believe in than put it on stuff that I don't like, or I am not jiving with, potentially.
For that same reason, do you think you'd struggle picking up certain commercial projects? Yeah?
Yeah.
Has that happened before?
No, it hasn't happened, because no one wants to hire me. But I feel like I would definitely have that struggle for sure. Test me, anybody that you don't think I would be if you think I would be a bad fit for your company, but you want to hire me, holler.
Just there's going to be like a cigarette packaging company.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, that's funny. Do you see people who do you know artists who feel like they're in demand?
Sorry, do I know artists who are in demand?
Yeah.
Or who feel like they're
Or
in
who look,
demand?
yeah. Because you just said nobody wants to hire you, and it feels like it's a demand thing, right?
Oh, I guess. Shout out to Tierney. Like, that girl is hustling, and she is killing it.
Hello, Tierney. What's up? I feel like that's a weird term now that I think about it. In demand. I guess it can be a good thing, right?
Yeah, like, it's not a bad thing, that's for sure. She's making amazing
What do you
work.
mean, like the phrase? Maybe the phrase is the wrong one for that, but yeah, Tierney's definitely killing it.
She is. Like, I don't know how she's doing everything she's doing.
But I think that's an interesting example where she's in the right, or not right, but like in cool avenues where her art really makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm asking you, this kind of idea of, I don't know, I'll keep using in demand, but kind of there is spaces in society, and whether it's, you're creating a mural for a new restaurant, or if your artwork is going to be on an album, there's
Yeah.
and is this something you think about? Do you feel like, I keep saying like in demand,
It's hard
like required?
Yes, it's definitely hard to take my sculptures and try to put them in a commercial element, because I don't know how to display them. I'm not a photographer, and I don't really have good photographs of my work, and I don't even know how I would really display that. As
Just gotta ask some friends.
Yeah. Dylan, where are you, buddy? But I wouldn't know how to like monetize sculpture as a commodity without just like selling the sculpture and having that be the sale.
I feel bad that I keep bringing it back to this point, and like I wonder why. And often it seems like just because it kind of comes down to it. If you want to make your artwork, and if you want to make it you, and being able to spend all of your time on it, that's kind of, those are the basics of life.
That is, yeah.
And I'm it's kind of sad that it does go back to it, but in some way it has to, right?
Yeah, it's like we said, it's the process of being an artist is very selfish, and it's a very it's trying to satisfy the self and whatever like desire to create you have. So hopefully someone else will be as into my work as I am one day.
Dude, I love your work, and I think,
Thanks,
like I said, especially I would say it's true. I feel like your work has leveled up, especially maybe since that show, It's Slice of Life.
I think so too.
And it didn't look like, I didn't know that was your first sculpture show, because it didn't look like it.
Thank you.
And so I'm very excited for your work.
I have I work feverishly.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I'm working, I work very intensely, and I'll often work a lot.
You just gotta take care of yourself, man.
Yeah, it's coming. It shouldn't be secondary.
Don't
but
burn out.
It's coming. But I think the process of working feverishly really helps me expand.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, that's the only way. Right?
yeah, it is. You
Gotta
can't
put
have an
some work.
idea and not explore it. Like, if you want to grow as an artist, make the work and you'll grow. Like, if you have any idea, like, practice makes perfect. You can make 100 shitty pieces, and then you make that 101, and it's the best thing you've ever made. And those 100 pieces beforehand were very well worth it.
Yeah, and also don't forget that one of those 100 pieces may be the best piece to someone else. So
well, totally.
That's
yeah,
always
you have to. That's actually a very hard part of
Yeah.
being an artist, is that with work you're not really sharing, is realizing that you have a very critical eye of the self.
Quite often you're the worst judge of your work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at the same time, those aesthetics that you choose to follow through are what make you great, but it's quite often the things you don't like could be actually really cool.
Yeah, or like you said, you never know what's going on in someone else's head, and especially in the realm of abstraction, people interpret images in their own unique way, and I really enjoy that about abstracted works that potentially don't necessarily have something immediately understandable to them, or like you can't fully understand what the story is behind the piece, but it's a beautiful object or a beautiful painting. You can add narrative to it, and that narrative changes as well. And for my sculptures, the way in which you light it, like the whole element of shadow, is a separate thing altogether. Yeah, I really want to start exploring light, like literally light within sculpture as well.
My next question here was, what one skill do you want to get better at?
Promoting myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's not an artistic skill. It's like a business skill.
And it takes time, right?
Yeah. But I think in terms of artistic skills is like maybe branching out of just wood for my sculpture, exploring more materials. I really want to get into clay and pottery and stuff. Like, who knows if it will be for something I want to explore as an art medium or just another cathartic practice, because we all need more of those, right?
Yeah.
Shit.
Oh, you have all of them though. You've collected them all already. Shout out to Arts Paper Scissors. Billy. We're just talking
Billy
about
is
him.
making amazing work. And Billy, I still want to take a class with you on your wheel, buddy.
Check out that guy.
Yeah, and everyone in Layout Art Studios, both yours and
now we got
and
two.
Scott's. Yeah, all are full of amazing artists. But Billy, holler at me, dog. I want to take that course we've been talking about for a little while.
I can't wait to see you do that. Yeah. You want to collect them all, man. You got to pick up all them skills.
Yeah, all the pokey arts. Collect them all, dog.
Let's see. Yeah, so the skills you want to improve on. Okay, gotcha. Do you have any habits that make you successful that you're aware of?
I'm not successful, so
Well,
I'm
I
making
think
work.
you are.
Thank you. I appreciate
It's just that
that.
what do you define as success, right?
Yeah, maybe I'm not the monetary success, but I think that working within several mediums at one time, which I already said earlier, helps. Each medium helps to inform the other.
Mhm.
And I think it's very positive to be working on several pieces at one time. So within these several pieces that you're working on at once, if you're exploring multiple mediums, each of the mediums you're exploring is innately going to be adding to the other, right?
Mhm.
Like if I'm working on a sculpture and I'm working on a painting that is heavily aerosol based, and then I'm working on a painting that is gouache, and then a painting that is latex, each of those materials has different qualities that you can only achieve with each of those materials. But if I do this unique brush stroke with some latex paint that I've mixed on my brush, I'd be like, shit, like that's really cool, and I want to try to achieve that now with wood grain or a form within a sculpture. And I think that working like this has really allowed me to expand my artistic practice.
Mm-hmm.
And so I encourage anybody out there that is in a bit of an artist block to try to work on many pieces at once or explore a new medium. I think collage, like cutting up clippings and reassembling them, is a great practice for any painter.
Mm-hmm.
It really allows you to take imagery and reinterpret it in whatever way you see fit. And I think it just helps you get out of a rut if you're in a single rut. Or if you work predominantly in color, try to work in black and white for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Or inversely, if you work in black and white, try to take your tonal values and apply them to color.
That's very good advice.
Yeah.
For a while, I definitely, and probably still am, was really scared of abandoning certain art practices or tools that I was using for the fear of it going away.
Mhm.
Like, and I, to a certain extent, it's true, but it's not like you're not going to be able to pick it up. But yeah, the value that you're talking about of being able to bring other mediums into it and how it makes the other ones stronger. I feel like I'm only learning it now. And for me, the fear was, having the full-time job where I work digitally, I'm realizing more and more that it does benefit me, and probably more so than I know.
Probably it does.
Yeah,
100% does.
But that was my fear so I'm curious to see what I do in the future and over the next years. But that fear of, for example, not painting with oils and being scared that now I can't be good at it. But
that was a good squeak in my voice.
Very nice.
I think it's riding a bicycle. I think you can take a time away from it, but you'll always have those skills. And I think it's also healthy to take a little bit of a break sometimes if you're in a rut. Like maybe take a little while off of a painting, or if you're a writer, write some nonsensical poems that have nothing to do with whatever story you're working on, and it's just like flexing your creative mind. It's not necessarily flexing your applied skill that you're using for your creativity, but it's purely just helping the creative mind explore itself. And I think that these are very very positive things to utilize as an artist.
What do you write? You mentioned you like creative writing. What do you explore?
I suppose it's poetry, but it's free form. It's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
One day I want to put out books. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time.
Dude, you're so inspiring. You just do everything.
I guess. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You're making a living as an artist, though, dog. I'm not. So.
Thanks. And trying different, right? It's commercial kind of art living.
Yeah,
but
it's still art.
Making art.
Yeah. So yeah, children's books and then coffee table books. Maybe books that look like they're for children but have underlying themes that are like a little bit more metaphysical. There's just so many different mediums to explore. Like with this show I'm gonna have in May at Slice, potentially I'm gonna do a little series of screen prints with Ben.
Yes.
And I've never done any screen printing, so like one-off screen prints that are probably embellished with some paint so that each is unique. But I just kind of, that'll take me out of my element as well. And then also creating work with the idea that it is an accessible price point. Like the work I want to sell for $250 or even under, like have a few $100 pieces. That will also like kind of direct how much time I want to spend on a piece, and I don't want it to be lacking. So it's like how can I assemble whatever skills I'm seeking to implement and do it so in a certain amount of strokes or a certain amount of shapes. Yeah.
I think this is a good example of how even though you try multiple mediums, you're still able to, it looks like you.
Thank you. And I think that's something I definitely try to strive for. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, that's really cool because it kind of shows you how you can pick up whatever you want and you can still express yourself honestly.
Do whatever you want, man. Like, don't feel like there's any limits for anything. Just space, I suppose. Like, unfortunately, with the sculpture, you need tools or you need space, and then storage is money. It's all money.
God damn it!
I know.
Yeah. What are your worst habits that make you
not finishing pieces?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it works to my benefit as well because like I love revisiting a piece from a year ago, and I'll finish it, and now I have a new. I'm looking at it through a different lens, so it allows me to finish it, or maybe I'll paint it all out except one little area, and that it becomes like kind of a ghost. It becomes a memory within a memory.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's one. That's kind of the same advice I really took from Peter Reek when he was on here about just do whatever you want. Just make a little body of work out of it, even if it's 3 pieces or 5. But that to me made sense in my head somehow because I do like to do different things. And
I think it's very healthy to be doing different things, and I think that you should.
You gotta like wrap them up to, or I like the idea of whatever you try, you wrap it up in a little package or however you want to look at it.
Yeah, if you can, that's ideal. And step away from it for a little bit too, if it's like not getting anywhere, because fresh eyes will often like be the healthiest thing to finish a piece of work.
Mm-hmm. So 2019, what does it look like for you?
Hopefully, lots of residencies. At least one.
Saying,
But
so the ones you're applying are for this year.
Okay. A couple are for next year, and many of them are for this year. And then I am applying for a few public sculpture grants. So I would be stoked to get those. I applied for a big printed mural in Banff that I find out the end of February if I got it or not. I'm pretty stoked on my submission, but it was all digital. Like I did the whole thing in Illustrator just because it's going to be printed. So that was a fun exercise for me too, because I predominantly I work in the real world.
In the real world.
That with work that I share, I work in physical space. So that was a good exercise, and it really made me realize that I should be doing more artist prints or prints, what have you, from Illustrator. Like it's such an easy way for me to create work and explore ideas, and so I hope to hear back from that, and waiting to hear back from an application I put in for the Van City Credit Union Rentwood branch. That is I proposed a big 12-foot sculpture, so that would be fun. Yeah, it's on a big 19-foot wall. It would be a hybrid of sculpture and mural, like a background mural.
Oh, that's gonna be awesome. I hope you get it.
I hope I get it too. I don't know if I will, but these are things I'm putting myself out for. I'm really used to being turned down.
Oh yeah.
So like anytime I get the A-OK, it feels great.
Yeah. No, I think it's just the constant. Man, whether you're applying for work, I mean, that's a type of work application.
Yeah.
Oh, the amount of rejections you get. I just got one recently, but I did apply for. I think it was the portrait. I don't know if it was. I think it was the portrait gallery. They had but it was a big call out, and got a nice little email about. Well, you submitted really nice work. Because of the amount of applicants that we had.
Yeah. Same. That's
your work. Yeah.
Like gosh,
that wording. Yeah.
Yeah, I applied to be part of a contemporary show at Beers London, and I didn't even make the long list of like 350 people.
Yep.
So.
Oh, maybe that. When did you apply for that one?
December.
Yeah, I think I may have applied for that one too. And
yeah.
Hey man,
whatever. 1 year I'm gonna get into beers. I'm positive of that.
But sometimes I feel like I spend so much time on these things and you never get in, and sometimes I definitely get discouraged because I realize could have spent these like 10 hours. No, well, maybe not 10, whatever, a couple hours just.
But
making those
also, it's the more you apply, the easier it is to apply.
True.
And then you kind of have templates.
Totally. Yeah. I realized. Okay.
I'm just gonna use the bathroom, guys.
Okay, he's gonna run. Okay, maybe I could entertain you. Maybe I could play some songs. So while David was away, I just witnessed a fight across the street. I feel like today is just
Oh
a
my
chaotic
gosh.
day around here on Hastings Street.
I missed it. Damn.
Well, I don't know. It was not really good. I feel like
No, it's not good.
No, it's one of those things where just
Huh.
yeah.
Cops are here though.
It's
so
chaos. Stop by if you want to. Yeah, just witness some fights and maybe
Oh.
people pulling out guns and something like that. Yeah.
it's crazy.
You know, I realized that we've gotten so far into this conversation that I didn't really ask you about where you came up and how do
Oh.
you get into art and that.
Yeah. I've been around my whole life. My mom is an artist,
Okay.
and my aunt is a pretty prolific interior designer. My nana is a painter. My papa was an artist. My grandpa was a musician. It was all on my mother's side of the family, though.
Mhm.
And that's how my mom has made her living for most of her life, is through her art. So
Wow.
she's a glass artist, like stained glass,
Mhm.
but she also did a lot of pottery when I was young, and she's getting into painting now. But just around creativity is something that has always been driven in me, like being passionate about creativity. And I think when I started drawing very, very young, and then entering like little art contests in school. And I grew up in a really small village called Gold River on
Okay.
Vancouver Island, and you would win like helicopter rides and stuff if you won the
What?
art contest. So I won like so many helicopter rides. And
You got tired of them?
yeah,
That's
well,
old
it was
youth.
fun.
Yeah?
They were fun, and you usually got to bring one or two people. So I would usually bring my like nana and my papa.
Wow.
And then I would start going to like art camps in the summertime and stuff. My mom would drive me down to Campbell River or Courtney and would camp, and I'd get to do art camps during the week. And then I think when I was like 12 or 13, I came over to Vancouver for a few weeks in the summer out in White Rock and did like a very intensive atelier type school for drawing and stuff. And so just always been around it.
It was from early on, yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like you had pretty good role models too.
Yeah, like just always encouraged, which
Mhm.
was any idea I had, my mom has been super supportive. So I'm very grateful for that. And then in high school, just like pursuing art as much as possible. And then in grade 12, I had enough credits that I could become a half student with independent studies. And so with my art teacher and the principal, we just said like, I'm going to make a body of paintings. And I got to just have to go to school for half the day
Wow.
for grade 12. It was great.
That's awesome.
Exploring a few like dirty habits when you're in grade 12 and only half student and making art, but it's good. So yeah, I got to like every single day be in the art studio by myself working on excuse me, a body of paintings. And then
why film school then? Yeah.
so that happened right after high school. I moved down to Victoria with a bunch of friends, and I did like fine art school there,
Mhm.
certificate of visual arts at the Vancouver Island School of Art, and that was great. I learned a lot. It was a really cool school. They're still going. When I was there, I think it was in the second or the third year of the school.
Oh, cool.
And I was by far the youngest student. It was mostly like 40 to 50 to 60-year-old women who were there pursuing art because they had always been interested, and now they had time because they were retired. And so I was in school with a lot of people who were like painting flowers and very like safe paintings. And I was actually a little bit more abstract back then.
Did you know what you wanted to get out of it when you were in that school? Like, did you know?
Color theory and history. I really enjoyed art history.
But when you were in that school, were you already thinking that you're trying to make a career, or you're just learning? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, learning by proxy, yes. But I, like, in high school, I knew I wanted to be an artist as a
Okay.
career. I just didn't know how to do it. And then when I was doing that, I was working at a bar as like a food runner, and my dad, he thought that was a stupid skill. Not my art, but that like working in a bar was a stupid skill. So he brought me into construction, and like I started laboring with him when I was 19, and I'm very grateful for that. And I'm very grateful I got to work with him too. He passed away 6 years ago now.
I'm sorry.
So it was, I'm glad that I had that time to work with him. So,
Is that what led into carpeting
yeah,
eventually?
yeah, totally it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And for the first many years, like I was kind of like not stoked on it either. But then eventually it grew on me. And, so in 2009, I decided to move to Vancouver from Victoria because I was like, okay, what am I doing with this laboring? I want to make art, but I'd never like opened Photoshop or Illustrator or anything. So I was like, I'll go to Vancouver Film School. I'm glad I did, but I'm still paying off that student loan.
Those are
and it was a
expensive
very
schools.
expensive lesson to learn that I don't want to be working on a computer for my livelihood. But I took a lot of information out of it, made some cool connections, and I learned softwares, and I'm happy with
which you're using now, right?
which I am using now. Yeah, totally, and they'll be beneficial, however I decide to display them. And then right after, like when I was still in film school in 2010 and graduating, I got a job at a design company in Vancouver called Molo Design, and they make expandable paper furniture and seating and stuff. And the owners of that company, Todd and Stephanie, they are still some of the greatest mentors I've ever had for just being unrelentless in pursuing a vision that you have.
Wow.
And that was a really positive experience working with them, and they supported me in my art as well. And I got to display some art with them at IDS West one year, and just got to I got to do a bunch of international trade shows with them, like not displaying my work, but going and traveling and going. And by proxy, when I'm going to these other cities, like getting to see the galleries in these other cities and just seeing the culture around art and design and craft. And from there, I was working with them, and that's when my dad got quite sick. So I took some time away, and then came back to Vancouver, and just kind of have been working carpentry since, but focusing on art, like had a bunch of different studios, and I don't know, making art for art's sake, and hopefully something comes out of it.
Would you want to go back to a job similar to the one you're doing with the paper furniture company?
Maybe. It's a little bit like...
It was too much computer time?
No, I was in the workshop.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah, it was a very cool job, actually. But I think that it was a job. Like you're helping someone else live their dream or attain their dream, and I have too many dreams to want to be doing my own thing. So for a few years I was just taking on side carpentry projects, and in 2016 I started working with this guy Josh at Maestro Developments, who I still work with, but for up until October 2018 I was subcontracting to him, so I wasn't an employee, and I finally just signed on as an employee because there's some benefits that I finally got
into it. Nice.
Yeah. But I'm gracious that he fully understands that my passion is my art. That's amazing. Yeah, it's cool, and anytime I need to take off I'm allowed to. And
does it feel like does this job feel less like you're realizing someone else's dream?
Well, it's still I'm helping this guy develop his dream, and I'm not making a terrible wage, but I'm definitely not making money. I'm making enough money to live, and that's about it. Yeah. Vancouver's expensive as hell.
Yep.
But I get to be developing skills that I enjoy developing, and it's problem solving. Like I said, I love problem solving and working with tools. So that's all I'm doing all day long. And
I think it's pretty cool that all these things you did, they all benefited the art that you make now, because you do it all, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Somehow it all came together.
It has all come together, or it's coming together. But the end goal is to be self-sustaining on the art in whatever capacity that is. I'm not fully sure yet.
What would be an ideal lifestyle?
Commission-based works probably, and having a show or two a year. Being able to create a body of work that a gallery takes on to the different art trade shows every year.
And in the beginning of the podcast you said that may not be realistic in Vancouver. Do you still?
Well, I don't even know if a gallery from Vancouver does the trade show circuit. You
have to go down to US.
Yeah, big time. For the work that I'm creating, I feel like the people that I look up to the most are down in Oakland in the Bay Area. Oakland and San Fran.
I think it'd be really cool if you get into one of those residencies, because you could network at the same time as and
usually the residencies culminate in a little show, and even if it's in a secluded community, I'm abroad, so I can say that now I have internationally exhibited.
There you go.
If you use Art Speak, which we all do, on the portfolio, it looks way better than it actually was. So it's all about experiences and hopefully leading to a place. I think as long as the work I make is authentic,
Which it is.
it's gonna get thanks.
Yeah.
It's gonna take me to wherever it is that I'm going.
Mhm.
It's all just like the way in which I create is automatic. It's like so is my lifestyle. I have no idea what I'm gonna be doing, but I feel like I'm on the right path.
Mhm.
So it's and recognizing when you are creating these connections with new people, or recognizing if you've made this work that you know is going to potentially turn into something that could be lucrative, being gracious along the way, I think is very
Mhm.
helpful too.
Yeah, I guess that and humble, which I guess are very similar. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Always remain humble. Always learn.
Okay. No, I was going to ask your 5-10 year plan, but I think you gave me a really good answer for that one. What is your greatest extravagance?
Elaborate on that. Oh, I don't know. Like right off the bat, probably just being too drawn into trying to pursue so many different things at once.
Actually, one question I wanted to ask you is that because we were talking about that, do you remember what's the most recent art piece you've purchased or you got?
That I have purchased. One was Andrew Oliver had a show at Slice last year.
Oh yeah,
and bought a little piece from him. I'm stoked on that one.
Very nice.
Bought a clock from TikTok last year.
Sweet.
Stoked on that.
You're building a collection too then.
Yeah. I'm trying to buy a little sculpture from Andrew Tavakshian. He still has to give me a price. Andrew, if you're listening, buddy, I'm waiting for you to tell me how much you want and I'll pay you.
I didn't know he was making sculptures too.
That's what he did in his grad project from Emily Carter. He made such beautiful ceramic pieces.
Mhm.
He is prolific. He's one of my favorite artists in this city. He's doing things too. He's doing it.
I see his work. I gotta meet the guy. I know. I see him around. I gotta make sure.
He's great. You should get him on the podcast. He's
love
cool.
to.
He's a cool guy. He's young. He's got a lot of potential.
A lot of fire.
A lot of fire, and he's unwavering. Like he's pursuing what he wants to make
Mhm.
and running with it. So yeah, I'm waiting to buy a sculpture from him. That's my next purchase.
What's your recent biggest inspiration?
Just seeing everyone in Vancouver like trying to make a go at it.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
A lot of us are, right?
A lot of us are really trying to make it work, man. There's so many amazing artists in this city. But truthfully, like the work I look up to the most is coming from abroad, and I'm grateful to have like Instagram as a tool to be able to see it and see what these people are doing with it, and how they're pushing the boundaries of sculpture or painting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just being consistently inspired by experiences as well, and friends. It's always nice to have friends, and
Very good. It's
yeah,
yeah.
like grateful to have Lori in my life. She's my muse and inspiration, and it's nice to have someone that you can share space with and just completely be yourself.
Yeah.
My kittens are fun.
There you go.
They're fun. They're wild little beings.
You got how many kittens do you got?
Two
Chile?
sisters.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they're like 5 months old now.
Are you gonna make art of them, inspired by them?
I don't know. Maybe by whatever little apparitions they see.
Yeah.
I know that those cats are seeing into dimensions that I can't see. So
To me, that's such an interesting approach to art. I don't do that enough, but like you're saying, you're kind of channeling your inner you.
well,
Yeah.
maybe the higher self.
Yeah.
Inner me, higher me, the me that exists externally,
Mm-hmm.
beyond this specific plane, potentially. Like whatever me exists in 1,000 years is already existing right now. So trying to tap into that dude. Whatever me existed 200 years ago is existing right now. So trying to tap into that dude.
Where have you learned that idea, kind of the methodology?
I am a big proponent of channelings, and for me, like my Bible would say, or like whatever my holy writings and readings is the raw material,
Mhm.
and it's a group of people who channeled the entity Ra, R-A, in the 70s and 80s, and not the Egyptian god that like most of us know Ra as, but
Mm-hmm.
apparently Ra is a societal memory complex that exists on the outer rings of Saturn.
Apparently.
Yeah. But just really amazing information that was channeled through Laura was the medium. And within that, you just kind of find out that infinity exists fluidly all at once.
Right, but saying, where did you find that? Or you just
Is it through reading?
Okay,
and different, a lot of reading, a lot of listening, just shit that makes sense to me.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that what we see is like that. It's not what we see. It's like everything that we see is like not as it is, right? We're made up of trillions of little things, but we're consciously thinking that we're one thing. Well, all these multi-trillion celled organisms on this planet, they're all making up this planet. There's no way this planet isn't a conscious thing if we are conscious and we're just made up of little things. And I think it goes greater beyond that, right? Like there's no way that a galaxy isn't conscious. It's all just whatever they're tying into this oneness. I'm gonna run on and probably losing friends.
No, but I was gonna say this. It gets so complex it hurts. Like,
it does. It does, man. And I think that all you can do is tap into creating. Yeah. I think creating is what we're supposed to be doing.
Man, I wish we had more time because you got me very excited and interested. I got the last one for you. What advice do you wish you got before you went to VFS?
Don't go to VFS.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Too expensive, right?
Yeah, or just like probably what I learned out of it, I could have learned from like grayscalegorilla.com.
Never heard of that. But
it's different tutorial videos for different softwares. I wish I just took the money and lived for a year and pursued things on my own. But retrospect is 2020, right? Hindsight is 2020. So,
well, you got a lot out of it too.
I got a lot out of it. Yeah, I got life experience out of it, and I don't think I'd be where I am now if I wasn't there. Right? Like you never know. You can never be where you are if it wasn't for all the things that led up to where you are. So
that's the name of a painting right there.
Yeah, there we go.
Man, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sorry we're out of time, but
no, it's all good. I appreciate you listening to my ramblings.
No, dude, I like I told you, I always love talking to you. We don't hang out enough, so
yeah,
I'm glad to
very enjoyable.
have a good excuse right here to do that.
Cheers.
There's still lots to dig into. How do people find you online?
Instagram @Druvid is basically it. That's it. And then I have druvid.bigcartel.com if you guys want to buy some work. Or just message me on Instagram.
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh, I got to go home and digest this all now.
Yeah.
I feel like every time I do
take some Pepto-Bismol if you really want to digest it, buddy.
Man. Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening. I appreciate David very much. If you want to learn about Creative Theory Podcast, Instagram, Facebook, come say hi. I'm going to keep looking for all you good artists out there. Come out here. Teach me, teach us a bunch of good stuff. And this was got a crazy episode. People trying to kill each other on the streets here. So stay safe, make good art, and we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye.